Well, thank you for joining us today. Finally, a week where you've been able to get a little bit of rest for a couple of weeks, I may say. So, Coach, how having that time in the past 2 weeks it has allowed you to shape for this coming game on Saturday against the first team in the standings, Columbus Crew?
I think it's been one of the most normal weeks we've had in a long time. Last week there was an early part of our training schedule we used to try and implement some recovery and just a mental and physical regrouping, if you like. This week has been back to what could be considered as normal. Some good work Monday and Tuesday. We had a day to recover on Wednesday, and then today and tomorrow are generally days that, we start to look at our opponent, what we need to try and achieve, and maybe some of the qualities that our opponent has. But in this case, we run into a very confident and informed Columbus team. Their stats of only one defeat speak for themselves. And I'm sure that they'll be looking at this opportunity against us as one they should be adding to the points board and points tally. But as I've said numerous times on this media broadcast, it's not a straightforward, I don't believe a straightforward or even given against us. We're ourselves in a decent place. Of course, we're still developing and improving, but I'd like to think, and I'm sure others do as well, that there's a core and a spirit in this team that's already starting to show itself, which means for Columbus, it will be a tough game, no doubt about it.
Dave, you're obviously familiar with different faces in that locker room. How are you preparing to defend a team that has currently a very strong goal differential in their hand?
Yeah, they're a really good team. They've been extremely good defensively, but they've also scored a lot of goals. I mean, to have a plus 14 goal differential this early in the season is something they should be really proud of, and it's something that we definitely have to take notice of. Got to play with Giowski for about 3 years, so I kind of know how he likes to run, where he likes to kind of fade off shoulders and make really good runs. I was roommates with Boateng, one of their wingers, for 4 years, so I'll be familiar with those guys. But outside of that, they're going to be a good test. They're going to be a really good test for us.
We will now open the floor for questions, and as usual, please let me through the chat whether you have a question for Coach Smith or for Dave Romney. With that, we will begin with a question from Tim Sullivan from Fort Clapham Country. One for you, Coach, and then he'll follow up with a question for you, Dave.
Gary, before Drake gets to it, can you read us the starting lineup left to right for this weekend's game? No, in all seriousness, last weekend you faced an Atlanta team that had kind of been going through some struggles compared to where they had been earlier in the year. Whereas in contrast, this week you're facing a Columbus team that's in really good form. How do you adjust the way that you prepare for a team when they're in this hot run of form versus maybe one that, even though you guys were looking to get off the schneid against them, wasn't playing quite as well?
Well, yeah, I think we could say mentally that they might be in slightly different places. For us, I don't think there's a huge amount that changes, to be honest, Tim. We're certainly very respectful of what they're capable of. Their record is very, very good at this point. Having looked at them and on numerous occasions, they're actually a side that do a lot of things well, and you might think that that's pretty straightforward for a team that's in good form. But in terms of any one thing that they do exceptionally well, I'd have to scratch my head a little bit on that one. They, of course, are a good side, but they do a lot of things very well. To Dave's point and some of the stats, their goal scoring record's good, which tells us they've got good dimensions. They defend well, which means that they're probably a very genuine group, and of course gathered this confidence over a period of time. But if you look at the way we've performed away from home, if you look at the most recent run of 4 games where we've gone away, we've come back home, we've kept ourselves in decent shape, we've continued our improvement, as I'll keep reinforcing, and we will ourselves believe, of course, that there's something to be gotten out of this game. There's no doubt about it. We've been to some difficult places under difficult circumstances, and this will be yet another test for us in difficult surroundings. But I've full belief in the group. They're confident, they're upbeat, and I think they're ready for most challenges at the moment. And the one thing we do know is whoever we run into and whatever comes our way, we'll be better off for it at the end of it, given such a new group and a new environment.
And then for Dave, when you were signed by this club, you made no secret that you felt you were maybe overlooked at your previous club. Do you feel vindication now that you're an every game starter for a team that has had so much success defensively so far this year?
Yeah, it definitely feels good. It's something I knew I was capable of and I was confident of the previous 5 years I was at Galaxy, though. So it was no surprise to me. And we have a great coach, a great system here that does suit defenders well. And we have a lot of honest workers in front of us. This is by no means just a backline thing. We have midfielders who are working their ass off the entire game, forwards who press well. So it's definitely a full team defensive thing, not just the back line or myself or Joe and Cole. But I think defensively, everybody's been playing really well. We've been organized. And I think the way our team is kind of shapes up is very suitable for road games. We're going to defend well. We're going to make it tough on the home team, and we can steal a point or 3 on a counterattack. So definitely, I don't think we've really been played off the field any of the games this year. We've kind of held steady with everybody except maybe the game in Orlando where we were a little leggy after a couple games in a row. But outside of that, I think we've played really well and competed home and away against every team in this league so far. So this will definitely be a good test for us.
Thank you, Dave. We will continue with a question from Ray Hills with the Tennessean for you, Coach.
Yeah, Coach, how timely is the way that Nashville performed in front of goal just at the weekend? How timely is that, just based off of who you guys will be playing in Columbus? They've had the same consistency at the back in terms of who they started, just like Nashville does. And so they have that consistency and that stout defending. But have you seen, I guess, like the start of something that could really help you guys when you guys go up to Columbus this weekend?
Well, the obvious answer, Drake, is I hope so. We've been waiting a little while for one of these breakout games where, we score multiple goals. As a group, we've spoken at length about other fixtures and other games that we've played where we felt those opportunities were there and sadly not taken. It certainly makes games a lot tighter and a lot more difficult to deal with when, you don't extend your lead or take advantage of your chances. But I think most importantly of all, as we continue this road of development and this year, with all of the difficulties that clubs are enduring, I think you're seeing, multiple areas of our game that slowly but surely have improved. The guys feel more confident about. They go into each and every game feeling as though not only are we competitive now, but we should be getting more out of this. And there's been multiple games that there's been disappointment of not winning or even losing and not getting a point. So, at some point, I think it would be nice for me to show the players and certainly for us all to refresh ourselves of what the opening couple of games look like as a group and where we are at this point, and of course where we'll be in another 9 or 10 games. And that's really what we have to remember, that yes, we want to keep adding points. Yes, we want to be competitive, but it's all for a common aim, which is to continually improve and to make sure that this group develops in the right way and can be a competitor in this league, not only this year, but for seasons to come.
We'll go on with a question from Claudio Villalobos with the Stereo Night in Nashville, actually with a question for each one of you. Claudio?
Gary, how much can you read into the fact that, the way that the crew came back from a 2-0 deficit in the last game against the Fire? I guess that makes it even harder for us, any team, to try to beat them, especially at home, right?
Yeah, of course. I actually watched near enough all the first half of that game before I left for the stadium for our game. And I have to be perfectly honest, I thought Chicago played ever so well. They created some very nice moments before they got themselves in front and then, extended their lead. And I was a little bit surprised myself, as having seen the first half, that the crew got themselves back on level terms. But I think, yet again, it goes to show that there's a good spirit, there's a big belief in the group. They're without a couple of very integral players in that team. And, to dig into your squad players and to see a good result away from home, especially, as you've said, from behind, it'll only enhance the way that they feel about the team. I think we are very different to Chicago, as we are to a lot of teams, and Columbus to plenty of others. And I'd like to think that, in a position of strength, we might be able to, to come away from that game with all 3 points. Circumstances obviously are important. But look, we yet again come back to the point. This will be one of the toughest games that we've had. It will be a terrifically difficult environment, I'm sure. And whatever the outcome as we walk off of that field, we'll be better for it. Do I believe that we have the credentials, the qualities, and certainly the fibre to go to Columbus and earn points? No two ways about it. Of course I do. And I will certainly be disappointed if we don't.
Dave, I have a question for Dave. Dave, obviously, every striker brings its own skills and difficulty for defenders. But where do you rate someone with experience and skills of Giassi's artists against you guys this coming game?
Yeah, Giassi, I think one of Giassi's strengths is the runs he makes. He's times his runs extremely well. He knows exactly where to go when the ball is wide for service. He likes to kind of fade off your back shoulder and have the wingers whip in a ball just across the 6 to try to get the defenders facing their goal. He just has a really good sense of where he should be, and the timing is really good. And he's obviously got a lot of pace, so getting in behind and stuff like that are definitely some of his talents. Like I said, I got to play against him for 3 years, so I like to think I know where he's going to go some of these times or where he likes to run. But he's also a good finisher. He's going to get 2 or 3 chances a game, and he's going to put at least 1 or 2 of those away. He's got 8 goals this year already. He's got confidence right now, and he's going to be a tough test. But I think me and Walker are definitely ready to play against him this weekend.
Thank you, Ben. Right with Broadway Sports. We'll have a question for you, Coach.
Yeah, Gary, you talked before the Atlanta game just how important it was for you to see strikers get on the score sheet, and obviously that worked out really well. How do you continue that against a Columbus team who's currently on track to be one of the historically best defenses we've seen so far in MLS?
Well, we've just spoken, to a forward in the other group, and most forwards are driven by confidence, not just in their own game, but the players around them, their supply lines, and their understanding of the individuals that they're linking up with. And what you're seeing with the Columbus group at the moment is there's a lot of confidence in all areas. My hope is that the weekend's, blowout, if you like, and 4 goals, not just 4 goals, but plenty of other opportunities to have added to that tally, will be a huge lift for our front line. We saw Dominic, Hani and Abu all in our front line for the first time, in any game, scoring multiple goals, which is always great to see. We're seeing Hani, without a shadow of a doubt, getting into more aggressive areas, building that relationship with Dominic and Daniel and the centre forward in the group. And he himself, I believe, just looking at him, is in a more confident place. And so you have to remember, for all of these guys, some have been able to pick up the baton from, our position of missing out on the Orlando tournament quicker than others. And, you see one of those individuals on the screen here, for the likes of Dave and Walker, to name but a couple. They've been able to get into their stride quickly, do their job, form their relationship, and give us a really strong foundation. Sometimes for the attacking players and the creators in the group, it doesn't come as easily. It's, not being disrespectful here one little bit, because of, the foundations we have, we're always in a good place. But creation and scoring goals are, of course, the hardest things in the game to do. Otherwise, games would be 10-all and, 15-9 and silly scores like that. But it's not. So, I'm very, very pleased at how we're progressing as a group. I believe we look more comfortable in possession and building out of areas. Still work to be done, of course, but certainly on the right track. We look more accomplished in our opponent's half of the field. And don't forget at all, there's never, ever a lack of energy and endeavour in our group on both sides of the ball. When we win it, there's guys in the group who are desperately keen to get forward and get beyond and be a nuisance to defenders, which I can tell you doesn't happen in all groups. And as soon as we lose it, there's a great attitude to trying to draw themselves together as a team and making life difficult. And again, that doesn't happen in all teams. You see teams that are really good defensive groups and are not getting much joy going forward. Or you sometimes, and most of the time, see a lot of teams that are good going forward and look painful when they haven't got the ball. So, we're building a group here that can do both. And hopefully that confidence from the weekend is shown to some degree up in Columbus.
Ian Guillen with MLSsoccer.com with another question for you, Coach.
Hi, Gary. Thank you for the time. I just want to know, you have the week now to kind of take stock of where you've been over the last several games and where you are in the table. With the change of the postseason format, does the postseason become more of a tangible goal you can speak about to this club, or is it more just about that kind of qualitative continuous improvement?
Well, I think given the way that the league table is set up this year, with 10 teams in the East getting into that postseason, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when every single team will be believing they can get in the postseason. So I don't necessarily think that us sitting in 9th position at the moment with a game in hand is where our mentality should be at. What we know is, if we continue on this pathway of improvement, of confidence, of competitiveness, we'll achieve our aim, which is to be in the postseason. In what position? I don't know. But I don't think there should be anyone in our group, be it players or staff, that are looking and compartmentalising where we should be and saying, well, if we make 9th or 10th, that's success. I firmly believe at this point, we are in charge of our own destiny, and there's no reason that we can't finish in the top 3 or 4 of the league. I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest. There'd be a lot of people that question that, given the goals that we'd scored before last weekend. But, we have reinforcements coming in. We're looking confident. And of course, we need to take every game as they come. But on an unbeaten run as we are, we'll be certainly trying to keep that run going. And just as much as anything, and I've said yet again, the improvement of the group. It's our first year. What one result does not make a season, good or bad. And we have to keep moving forward as a collective. And I think the players have bought into it massively. And there's no reason why we won't continue to do that.
Thank you, Coach. And we have time for one more question. So today's availability will close out with a question from Dre Hills for you, Dave.
Yeah, my question is really could be applied both to you, Dave, but also to Gary in terms of the amount of opportunity now with not having a midweek to, of course, kind of tinker with what you need to prepare for Columbus. I guess defensively, both of you have talked about what Nashville does really well, but also what Columbus does really well. Is there something specific that, thanks to not having a midweek match, that you guys have time to really focus on in terms of preparation for Columbus, combating what they do well and trying to cancel that because you don't have a midweek match and you have time to prepare?
Thank you, Drake. As mentioned, we only have enough time for Dave to answer, but if anything, we can follow up outside of today's availability with you. Dave, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we usually use the 2 days prior to start doing film. So we already started doing stuff on Columbus, just focusing on defensive shape and how we kind of build out of a counterattack, how we want to build out of our back line, but we haven't yet. And I'm assuming we will tomorrow. Watch some film on Columbus, see what they do to break teams down, what we want to do defensively, stuff like that, how we manage our set pieces against them and for. So yeah, I can only speak to what we've done today, which is kind of focus on how we want to take advantage of them pressing high up the field and how we should counterattack them, as well as a couple other things. But I'm sure, I mean, Gary could speak to it tomorrow. We'll focus more on what they do well and how we're going to defend them, stuff like that, with the film session too.
Thank you all for your time today. I appreciate you taking today's to chat with us.